Welcome back to another issue. I'm Beastie Boy,
I'm Table.
I'm Red.
It is I, Shino Brando.
and in this issue, we return to the NC on DC and discuss Wonder Woman 84 and James Gunn's The Suicide Squad.
So Wonder Woman 84 was released on December 5th, 2020. Gee, what a Christmas gift. Screenplay was by Patty Jenkins, Jeff Johns. Directed by Patty Jenkins, it stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, and Pedro Pascal. It had a budget of $200 million, and it had a box office of $166.5 million. Its runtime is 151 minutes. All of them painstaking.
2.5 hours, guys. That's
Yep.
a 2.5 hour long movie.
I will start with gripe number one, because the way this movie starts off with this whole notion of like, Diana, you can't cheat to win, but then it adds up to nothing to the rest of the movie. It was just like there.
Yeah, it's not a theme. It's not
not-
actually about shortcuts. It's just there.
Yeah, like it has nothing to do with the rest of the film. Why the cold intro like that? Like it's stupid. It's dumb because I just seeing that whole thing. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, so at some point she's probably gonna like try to cheat to win or something later on in the movie. Maybe it has a central theme. And 2.5 hours later, and it added up to nothing. And I'm like, this whole movie was just a mess.
I think they wanted to tie it into the Steve thing and being like, you can't cheat to have the things you want. And the wishing stone bullshit MacGuffin, which we'll get to in a minute, is cheating.
Like, but you see,
It
was she
wasn't
even?
framed in parallel.
Yeah, was she even aware that she was doing it like on purpose?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just, huh?
Yeah.
She didn't go summon me a boyfriend. Like, come on. No, but on that fucking bullshit MacGuffin, its rules are vague and undefined, which is fine because, you know, DC loves vague, undefined MacGuffin. But why does it work like this?
It's so dumb. Because okay, so when Kristen Wiig gets her hands on it, right?
Yeah.
And she's just
Yeah.
like subjective, like wishing like, oh, I want to be like Diana, strong and sexy, and I mean that's all subjective, right? But then you end up being super powerful. So like, how does the Rock just know to give you that, or does it, you know, does it fulfill your wish of like trying to be like that person, but like,
And
like,
also-
you get the whole power set? Like it doesn't make sense.
Also, that's a girl crush if I've ever seen it.
Well, yeah,
Oh yeah, super gay. But apparently gay in a I'll steal your identity kind of way.
it doesn't make sense. Yes, Kristen Wiig wanted to be Wonder Woman secretly because she got her power set, although she was thinking about Diana the entire time. So,
And
I mean,
how much of a furry she can or should be.
that comes later.
Later,
The
yeah, I was
answer
gonna
is
say.
less. The
That's
answer
even
is
weirder.
less. I'm not gonna say that like Cheetah was a weird Wonder Woman villain to pick. Because frankly, Wonder Woman's not iconic for her villains. She's just not. She's cool. Sometimes she punches people.
half of her villains end up being dead.
Yeah,
Way
she
to go.
does kill people sometimes.
Way to go, Diana. Want you to calm that down, please?
Murdering? Tone it down a little bit, please.
Well, what a waste. Like, if your first villain in the original Wonder Woman was Ares, the god of war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, high stakes.
In this one, you have it could be better and also a wannabe furry.
And well, Maxwell Lord is also an interesting one because she fucking kills that guy too.
Oh, plenty.
Many times.
I don't know a retcon where Maxwell Lord lives very long.
Yeah, that guy fucking dies. Whether it's because he killed Blue Beetle or for other reasons, he goes
Yeah.
down. So it was like, okay, when's the sword coming? All fucking movie.
Yeah, you know, sword that you had in the first movie that you definitely had, but okay.
I guess you're done with now because
The plot demands it.
Mine still has to get around the idea of Bruce not knowing who this woman is years later and seeing a picture from her from like World War I as to where she's just stopped like bank robbers or robbers in a mall that has actual security cameras. So I'm pretty sure footage is out there, but I guess between 84 and 2000 whatever, I guess that footage must have been gone or lost to the whim.
So was there anything we actually liked about the movie?
Yeah, the end credits.
I like when Linda Carter shows up.
Really? I guess so. I mean, I like Linda Carter too, but
It doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense, but we'll get there a little bit more chronologically.
I suppose it didn't do anything for me. I was just like, well, it's good to see you two. It's been a long time.
Oh, I see you.
All
Hope
right.
you're doing well. Like,
Hey, speaking of characters returning, so how about Chris Pine, right?
Oh God. So let's just address the elephant in the room, right? Diana. All right, you're fucking another dude, man. That's not Steve, really. It's Steve because you're seeing it, but it's not really Steve, man.
we're
Some of the
seeing
guy.
Steve. That's not Steve.
That ain't right.
There's a word
a
for
whole
that.
other
We
man.
don't say that on this channel.
Oh, man.
Misconduct.
Yeah,
What is
sexual
it?
misconduct. Yeah.
Lewd conduct, even.
You get a red card, go straight off the field. Penalty
Mhm.
box for life. Never come back.
Do not pass go.
Yeah.
Like,
You guys were doing things without this man's body's consent. It's weird.
That's just some guy. Leave him alone.
That's weird. Patty Jenkins, I'm looking at you. You wrote this. This is weird.
Everything about Steve was uncomfortable, frankly.
Yeah, it was just
And he
fine.
had such a good death last time. It
Mhm.
felt cheap to undo that. Like, I get not wanting to introduce too many new characters because there's a lot going on because of this time skip, but I don't think Steve was the way to fix that.
They wanted someone to be that person to, like, for the audience to poke fun at. Because for those who weren't born in the 80s, who don't know the 80s, right? You need someone to kind of walk through that decade with you who, discovering things at the same time. So I guess, yeah, you could use Steve for that. And, whatever, this Wishing Stone, it's just that all that could have worked well if it was just written way better, but it just was not done very well.
there's another
Mhm.
character in Wonder Woman mythos that you could
Mhm.
introduce and then set up
Mhm.
a legacy character. Not to
Like
say you
who?
can't continue to use Diana Prince Wonder Woman, but
Mhm.
you have any number of Wonder Girls that could have just started there.
No, we're not gonna introduce no Wonder Girls, man. And if you've noticed the DCEU, we don't do sidekicks, man.
Their
But-
stance on sidekicks is apparently don't.
You see it. They killed Dick.
But
Mm,
more
I-
what I was getting at was that
Mhm.
any character could have been better than the return of Chris Pine's character.
I suppose. I guess.
Here's
But I
where
don't
I'll
know.
mention what Patty Jenkins herself has to say about this trope that people don't like. It was supposed to ring very true to like Big or like Freaky Friday, where it was
Yeah.
playing on that 80s trope of body swapping.
Mhm.
And the criticism back at the director is, yeah, and there's a reason that's an 80s trope. As in, the
Oh.
things you do in that person's body, we understand
That's still their
more.
body.
Yeah, that's still their body, and we understand more of what that means now. So,
I mean,
no Patty. Bad Patty.
I
I don't buy
I
it.
gently respect the attempts to pay homage to comic tropes and stuff.
Mhm,
This
mhm.
was the wrong one to pick.
Yeah,
And
that's
Wonder
weird.
Woman's had some dicey tropes in the past.
It'd been fine if, like, even if you did resurrect in this guy's body, whatever. It'd been fine if you didn't do anything frisky, yo. Doing everything else that they did was just all wrong. All wrong. Speaking of Steve Trevor, something else I want to poke at also is the man hasn't seen a fucking airplane in 50 some odd years ish, and he's able to fly a fucking jet plane.
Yeah, I hate to say it, bullshit.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Planes
it?
are not the same. Hell, navigation instruments aren't the same.
No,
Do you know how
100%.
people fucking navigated in like the First and Second World War in a plane? Do you know what they were doing? There was a second guy in the back with a
Yep.
map and a compass and a like counting.
This guy's flipping switches and flying a jet like a jet. Like during Cold War era, you know what I mean? Like jet. Like it doesn't make sense.
Speaking of that jet,
No.
the invisibility thing we're never going to see again.
Oh, you mean the fact that
Oh.
she touched it, she willed it by just like the power of boners, and it just disappears?
It was the power of boners. I'm telling you that. You took one of Wonder Woman's like notable assets and
Mhm.
went, you know what? I wish I may. I wish I might.
I wish I didn't see this jet tonight.
Exactly.
Jeez.
Where was this shit during both Dawn of Justice and Justice League?
Wasn't relevant to the plot yet, man.
They needed a jet to fly. They struggled watching Bruce build one. He's like Cyborg, can you do it for me? Cyborg's like, fine, whatever. She talks to me anyways. And he built it for him.
It's funny to watch Bruce Wayne struggle. I don't know what to tell you.
Jesus.
That jet stored somewhere for the last 40-ish years. She went.
It's an
"Now
art
is-
piece.
Now is not the time. The next time the universe is in danger, and I'm also casting this role. The next time the stars align this way.
I hated this too. She's like, your gift of flying, I'll never understand. You've been alive for so long, Diana. And you haven't tried reading a book or trying to learn about, like, he was your boyfriend for like a few days. And you knew this
Also-
isn't in flying. This didn't interest you at all?
It only takes like a year or two to get a pilot's license, Diana. You have the time if you feel like it.
You're immortal, Diane. Like, Diana's
Yeah.
just like,
Supportive.
he's been dead for 50 years. I don't give a fuck about planes.
No, Diana was basically just like, he's dead. I don't care about planes. Oh, you're back. I care about your love of planes again.
Suddenly.
Suddenly, planes
That's when
returns.
she remembered they existed, yeah.
I hated just the whole transition, everything. Maxwell Lord getting this fucking wishing stone, random wishes being fulfilled, even though they're not even wishes anymore. They're just suggestions. They weren't even wishes.
And again, as we referenced earlier, they're so fucking vague.
Like,
It makes sense.
I just don't understand how you write this into a script and then go, yes, very vague thing. Let's just continue on. This is where we're going. I'm not gonna wish for exactly $1 million. I'm gonna wish for not world peace.
And how does it work on a worldwide scale? I mean, does my wish cancel out your wish? Does your wish balance out mine? I don't understand.
Like, especially because it's set in the Cold War and you killed the god of war in the last one. It would be interesting to use that as like, this is why this war is so different than every other one before it. Not just nuclear weapons, but because the actual incarnation of war is gone.
Damn,
And
Cable.
so it can't take the traditional shape.
Sounds like you made it. You just wrote a. Someone give her some fucking money. She just wrote a better script.
Warner Brothers, please.
Wait. Hey, Taylor, are you saying there could have been some sensibility in this movie that could have like meant something instead of just like, hey, look, my gold wings are gold?
Speaking of that,
What a waste of an action figure.
no explanation of where this thing even comes from, how she even sought it out,
Just
why
looks
it's
cool.
necessary. You know, other than she's losing her powers now. Suddenly she's getting weak, so she needs armor, and it's just there.
Yeah.
It's just there.
At least you saw Bruce build his shit. Because he was just like, I gotta go fight this motherfucking alien god. This weird ass shit. This is crazy.
Yeah.
He was like, I cannot do this with my fist.
Yeah, I can't do this with a fucking car and kicks, bro. I need some real shit. So he made a suit, and this one just happens to have one.
Bruce was the type of guy to be like, can't use a Doc Martens. Got to go with heavy duty stuff.
Her closet is deep and full of mysteries, apparently.
Could we not have afforded exactly one flashback of her going to seek out this thing, just Laura Croft, Indiana Jones style?
That would have Peter Jenkins thinking about how to go back to the flashback properly of how to get the suit.
You mean like a better movie? You mean
A better story plot, yes.
That should have been in that movie and not like having her fraternize with not Steve, but Steve?
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I know.
Just to dig a little deeper, that 80s hole it bared itself for us. I understand we're in the time of like going back and looking very fondly at the 80s and all of the stuff that came before, you know, remaking and remastering that. Calling your movie Wonder Woman 84, so you don't have to call it 2, is a strat.
Yeah,
If you're going to play the 80s card, play the whole 80s hand. You're only going to get one shot at this. What are you going to do? Set this one, the next one, 89?
90 something,
Still?
94.
Can I just say, I think 84 was a bad year to pick for the obvious Orwell reasons.
Yeah. Hey,
Just pick a different one.
Where's the movie with that at its center? Like, maybe tyrannical governments and
Observation states, and Diana's choosing to live under the radar, and that's not easy. We could go into how she manages to do that, and instead we get
Maxwell Bungalord and his life is good, but it could be better.
that's the best thing out of
Yeah.
this movie. Tell me I'm wrong.
look.
Exactly.
Pedro Pascal does a good job in that role. He does a really good job with all of the stuff he's given to work with. His relationship with his kid is fun and interesting. Dad rights, I guess. But what was the fucking point? It could have been anybody.
What sucks about that too is that at the very end they reveal he had an abusive father, and it's just like, well, that doesn't work now. It's too late to insert that now. It'll work better if you show me that earlier so I can sympathize with the guy. But this entire movie just makes him look like some kind of fucking bungalord.
He's just a capitalist dick, and then suddenly he's got a child, and I'm like, oh shit, a child?
Lots of capitalist dicks have children. You're going to say that you're going to tell me a story every single time one of them come up?
So stupid.
I did not like this, Sam. I am.
No, man, we didn't even have a central villain. It was Maxwell Lord and Cheetah, and Cheetah gets her ass handled by Wonder Woman in a giant golden suit that doesn't really do much other than just to show it off. Then she gets drowned and electrocuted at the same fucking time, but does not die.
But also,
Would it kill Wonder Woman? No, that it doesn't work.
listen. So the look of Cheetah, cats looked better than her.
I argue that.
I was going to say, even I don't want to switch cats.
Yeah. Cats did not look good, and Kristen Wiig looked way better than the whole entirety of Cats, my friend.
I would have preferred to seen the butthole cut of cats, then look at Kristen Wiig as Cheetah for
Ah.
another fucking second.
I don't know about
that's good
that.
for you, but like I don't know about that.
Oof. I don't know.
Cats wasn't good in any form and shape, and I didn't even watch it myself. So
Kristen Wiig looked fine as is. We only got her for like 5 minutes as Cheetah. That's all we fucking need. That's 2 hours of cats, bro. No,
At least she didn't sing.
this is
I'll
also
give
true.
her that. At least we didn't reflect that. 80s Trap was like, hey, guess what? You forgot this was a musical. It's a musical now.
So Diana saves the world on a moral code. And no fist fight for this one. Just a moral code. And we switch things. Did Max even go to jail? Does he pay for
No.
consequences? No, doesn't he? No, he doesn't. No.
I don't think so.
So,
Cool.
therefore, again, what was that whole point of that thing at the beginning of the movie? Because that cheater did win and did not face any consequences.
You know what? Diana did cheat, my friend. She rode lightning with her rope. I don't remember that ever
Right.
happening in ever. But here we are. I think we've come far enough. Are we rating this thing, man?
I think we have to, unfortunately.
Yep.
Just to remind everybody the standings, though, thus far. From top to
Mhm.
bottom, we've got the original Wonder Woman with a perfect score of 10 out of 10. Zack Snyder's Justice League with 9 out of 10. Birds of Prey with a collective average of 7.5 out of 10. Shazam at 7. The original Justice League at 6. Man of Steel at 6. Aquaman at 4.5. Batman v Superman at a 3. And the original Suicide Squad at a 2.
Ooh,
I would like to also call this a 2.
Yeah, this is a 2. This is a 2.5. The 0.5 is because the cast looks beautiful. Each and every last one of them.
It is pretty.
Yeah.
I'll still give it a 2 myself.
This can't be a 3. It can't even hit 3. Like,
No.
It's not. That's why I said on 2.5 because it's not exactly Suicide Squad because that's a piece of shit. But at least these people look great in this movie. So at least there's that.
I will accept a 2.5.
2.5 it is.
The only person who looked good in Suicide Squad was like Margot Robbie, and
Margot Robbie looks good most of the time.
yeah,
Though.
that's about
Speaking
it.
of,
Yeah.
Margot Robbie looks good. Period. Stop. End sentence.
Mm-hmm.
speaking of her looking good, she looks great in James Gunn's Suicide Squad.
Yeah. So, James Gunn's Suicide Squad released on August 5th, 2021. Written by James Gunn. Directed by James Gunn. Stars, as we've mentioned, Margot Robbie,
James Gunn. No, I'm joking.
Idris Elba, John Cena, Sylvester Stallone, Viola Davis, Peter Capaldi, and James Gunn. It had a budget of 185 million James Guns and a box office of 167.4 million James Guns.
This was a film.
It was actually a film, and it was fun, and there was good costume changes, and there was fun characters that weren't just nothing characters looking at you, fucking Slipknot. Or Katana, who was, she stabs people. Anyway.
She was good, but she could have been better. Anyways.
Ah, there it is.
There it is.
Stop.
There's the best part of that other movie. Wiping the board of your initial team was such a strat I didn't quite see coming until they were already on the beach. Until I went, you're not who's on the poster. Oh no!
And to further cement that, they made sure to insert Boomerang so he gets killed right there and there, so you know that the old squad's not coming back anytime soon.
Do you know how hard I had to try not to scream in delight when Boomerang died?
Damn.
Yes, because I was sitting beside you in this movie.
Do you know what's painful about that whole thing is that in the first one they gave this guy the most shit tier costume in the world and nothing to do.
He
And
looked
in
like
this
a greasy
sequel,
hobo.
yeah, and in the sequel they actually give him like a comic accurate costume and kill him within the first 2 minutes.
Besides costume, accurate weapons of like how technically they should be working. And then, because like I just noticed that too in the rerun, and I was like, oh, that actually looks a lot better to what like he does in like the animated movies or even like closer to the comics. And then dead. Like
That and the killing of Pete Davidson on that screen, because that's also cathartic. That was very satisfying.
Like
Not for long, bitch.
Very, very special shout out to Flula as Javelin.
Yes.
That's a character I didn't know I needed. And then I was served and I went, but he's dead.
Yo, the passing of that javelin to Harley was one of the funniest things to carry over to the rest of that movie. Even at the very end was so stupid but so funny. It was worth the joke.
We're putting that in our Mickey Mouse pouch and we're gonna use it for later. Like
apparently.
We're just gonna hold on to this.
Because it has to be said, King fucking Shark.
Is a shark.
Yeah.
King fucking Shark.
AKA the Nawe.
I don't
That's
want to be
right.
rude to Killer Croc from the last one because
do.
they put a lot of work into
Damn.
the
Academy
makeup.
Award-winning other
Makeup.
Suicide Squad.
But Killer Croc was barely a character in that one. King Shark is a character in this one, and I want to give him a hug.
He needs a hug.
Yeah.
Just be careful. He does have a taste for human meat. So
Not
If
you're
I
fr-
die,
not if
I
you're-
die.
Not if you're his friend. You're
Yes,
not to eat
that's
his
true.
friends.
I want to be his friend.
Yo, how funny was it when he was actually caught trying to sandwich somebody though? Like at camp, and he had to be stopped
It was like, it's snack time.
in the middle of sleep, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?"
Oh, no,
me
no.
hungry. Like
So you brought up Polka Dot Man, who was a key player at one point, right? I mean, who was your standout? Who was your standout squad member in this run? Because for me, obviously, the first one, obviously, for me, it was Deadshot, of course, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Yep.
But in this film, like, who stood out to you the most?
it's Bloodsport for me.
Really, Bloodsport did it for you?
Yeah, because like the thing is, and it's gonna pertain mostly just because of like sure, like it's somewhat like a copycat of like Deadshot trope, but they still casted another like person of color, a black actor, to fill that spot, and I was like, this is kind of badass, and especially the armaments and like how his gear worked,
Oh yeah.
fucking badass. So I was like, yeah.
I mean,
like that.
I like Bloodsport too. It was cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
But he wasn't the one that stood out for me, man.
The
I just-
modular
I just
gun
think
was
that
a
was for
good
me.
touch.
Yeah.
Touch.
I think just the way of like how his gadgets worked and all that stuff, and like how his gear, if it was by itself, it would work in a certain way, or if it was modded together slowly and like to make a bigger item, then it was like still cool to me. So like anytime like he was doing something, it was cool every second, and that's like
Right.
what I appreciated.
I hear you. Table. Anybody stood up for you?
I liked Ratcatcher.
Ratcatcher?
I think going straight to Ratcatcher 2 was a really fun way both to give a whole bunch of like background world building context on what the fuck is up, and also more girls on the team, thanks, and she actually gets lines this time, thanks.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Also, rats. Great bit.
Okay. Right on. Right.
Peacemaker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the person who stands out the most, man.
And not just because he stands in a complete scene for more than 5-ish minutes in his tidy fucking whiteys. And James Gunn, this man, forced me to watch John Cena in his tidy whiteys. Speaking of peace and freedom, and I enjoyed myself a great deal.
Bro, like John Cena's humor carried most of that. Listen, man, from the moment Bloodsport called him out for his tidy whities, and he looked down and he said, "That's racist." I was like,
Yeah.
I'm in for yo. John Cena he knows what he's doing here. He knows what he has to do. So the whole transition on the beach when he's talking about the bag of dicks on the beach,
Yeah.
and the beach is, and he eat them all for free. Like, dude, Peacemaker stands out in that movie as like for just being Peacemaker.
That's totally fair. Like in that aspect, yes, he like honestly, John Cena as an actor
Killed
did a
it.
fucking phenomenal job, yeah, and killed that. Like,
For,
fucking
like,
great.
oh man, he's still because for me, everybody else on that screen did what they were supposed to do, and John Cena is not exactly known for acting very much. So to see him actually do this and actually fall into that character and compared to other wrestlers who've become actors, I'm like, wow, I was thoroughly impressed. Like he really stood out.
Hey, speaking of bad guys, let's talk about the actual villains of this movie, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, which one?
Peter Capaldi as his character.
He wasn't really much of a villain. He was just there, a tool, if you will.
Sinister.
Sinister, if you will. Anyway, what I will say about Peter Capaldi's performance was I haven't seen that dude act since he played the Doctor on Doctor Who.
Oh yeah.
And this was like a sick, twisted version on that, and I loved every second. I'm like, why aren't you on screen more? Why don't you talk? I just need you to talk more.
Well, he couldn't have been because, frankly, cast was too big. Which, speaking of, they did a good job balancing. I didn't feel like anyone was super duper neglected. Katana.
I'm so sorry.
Especially when
you know-
at your cast you blow up in the first 20 minutes.
I feel
Every
the pain.
character shows up, they play their part really fantastically well.
Including Joel Kinnaman, who was really shit as Rick Flag in the first movie, but really good in this movie.
Yeah, that's an enjoyable character. I want to see more of like his character's chemistry with Harley Quinn. And since I've now brought her up, that's my only gripe with this movie.
What
Oh?
is?
So
That Harley Quinn fell into yet another love trope and then had to shoot this dude and then had to move on again.
Okay, but you see that's Harley shtick though. she falls into mad love. That's her thing. That's her.
Mm.
Also,
don't you know-
you cannot tell me that her little monologue where she goes, I told myself if this ever happened again, I would do the emotionally healthy thing and kill him. You can't tell me that's not fucking hilarious.
It
Yeah.
was hilarious. I just wish that wasn't like involved in the plot. I just wanted her to do more. That's all.
I want to say though, at that part though, like that's continuing from the Harley Quinn movie that she had on her own, right?
Birds of Prey.
Like
exactly
yeah, Birds of Prey, right?
that.
So that's
Yeah.
literally that's where that's connecting. Otherwise, that's how it works.
And
Any other
she-
time, sure, maybe that could work differently, but like
And she ran single in her own fucking movie.
yeah. So like
So she moved on. And this is showing you that she's trying to be healthier about it. If she saw the same mistake again, she saw red flags, she's shooting the motherfucker. And she did.
she's actually upgrading from that. So
Yeah, I like that the character evolved. I just wish to see more of that character, and I just don't know when I'm getting that. And so that's just where I'm hanging my hat.
Well, we know Margot Robbie's not going to put down Harley Quinn anytime soon, and we
Until
wouldn't ask her to.
until
So
she starts
I'm
showing
not
them.
worried about that one. We'll get more at some point.
I figured after Birds of Prey, like I thought firmly we're on the road to like the gay, but I guess we're not doing that yet.
That's
for her.
strictly reserved for the animated series and all tie-in media.
I figured so.
Still on the
Okay.
bisexual.
wow.
The movie was
Whatever.
already rated R,
Yeah, I mean, hey, whatever. I'm not even gonna argue anymore.
which I'll say it took full fucking advantage of.
Oh, it did.
100%. James Gunn got approval, looked at it, and was like, "Oh fuck yeah!" and then it went full ham for it.
My dude probably went to the people that write movies and went, this movie, the way I've laid it out, the way I've storyboarded this, cannot be anything other than rated R. So that's what it is, end period.
You see my work, you know what I can do with the money. Let me do it.
Listen, man, that rated R was worth it for so many, like for King Shark ripping someone in half, and for Bloodsport and Peacemaker shooting down a whole fucking camp, even though they need those resistance fighters.
That was the most dick swingest gun shootout I've ever seen in my whole fucking life. Speaking of which, we barely talked about him, the recipient of the best your mom joke ever.
Oh yes.
It's your mom, and I'll never unsee what the camera pan to next.
Oh yeah. His actual
Jesus.
fucking mom.
I roared laughing. Soundtrack fantastic because A, it's James
Yeah.
Gunn, B, it's James Gunn, C, it's James Gunn.
Yeah.
All the above.
I also like the fact that the way they kept up on Polka Dot Man is the same way they used up on El Diablo. We didn't really use him until like we really needed him to like let loose, and
Yeah.
he did.
But the better thing is that they built on his background
Yeah.
plot a lot better.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like
It wasn't
Because without-
shoved right into the end where he was about to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
As like even the different parts of like where they mentioned like they were going through the cast different points of like origin, like let alone obviously seeing the whole mom joke at the beginning there. They slowly crept into it more and more of like seeing what he sees, but understanding
Yeah.
how he feels with it, and then as well like opening to the team slowly better and better rather than El Diablo. This is my family. Like fuck off. That's still pissing me off that they just pulled it like an anime trope thing, and I was like, oh man. Yeah, the Polka Dot Man did a lot, was a better choice here, even though like obviously his sad ending, but they pulled him really well, and I appreciate how portrayed him and his story.
You know what? We didn't talk about the greatest squad member that was in that movie, Milton.
Look.
But Harley thought Milton was dead Bloodsport the whole time.
I'm not Milton. What do you mean you're not Milton? We had a whole discussion about that. That was gold. Like the whole movie is just gold on comedy. They knew what they knew how to write that in. It was beautiful, man. I love it.
We won't be the edgy times. We'll be funny, and we'll just sometimes do fucking horrible things. Thanks.
Mhm.
Anyway.
So Starro. Okay?
Yes.
So I wasn't expecting Starro. One, right?
Yeah,
So-
there was.
I don't think anybody was really.
Well, based off
Right?
the trailer, all of the theories I saw were either Starro or Brainiac, and no one could decide which.
Which yeah.
I'm glad they went Starro out of those two.
So am I.
Yeah.
You can tell me a Brainiac story with the Suicide Squad? What the fuck? Why?
What? Huh?
Brainiac wins. I don't care who you are.
But Starro,
you
I
thought-
wasn't expecting that, and that was grand in its spectacle as it was. That was huge. But I was very happy that because of Starro, that whole joke for the javelin came to fruition at the very end, where she's like, "I understand who this javelin's for now."
Yeah, like, I know what I'm meant to do, and just runs back.
All that was enjoyable. This was far more enjoyable than that fucking first movie.
Oh, 100%. Even though they did most of the cast wrong, but
Even how they downtoned Amanda Waller, because Amanda Waller got handled by her own staff in this movie, and not the other way.
Handled.
And,
She
Yeah.
would never.
yeah, right, and not like the first movie where she handled all of them.
but I was glad to see her back. And also, I believe she's continuing her character in the Peacemaker show. So
We've toned her down to a more comedic role, dark comedic role, if you will.
like, I'm still gonna
I hope-
blow your neck off, but I might laugh at you first. Are we ready to rank this movie?
I think it's time.
Can we give it an 8?
Oh,
An
why an
8?
8?
Why an 8?
I don't want to go, this is a masterpiece. Like, it does everything it sets out to do super duper well, and I don't actually have any solid complaints. But at the same time, I'm like, is it worth a 9?
Here's my thought.
It's definitely
to you.
better than the 7, though.
Here's my thought to you. Would you rather watch this one or Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Oh, fuck. Easy. Easy. It's not
there you
6
go.
hours long.
So
I have a day after watching it.
I think if we're gonna aim it that high, it deserves the 9.
I would still give it a 9 myself because watching it the second time had fun the whole time. Like,
I'm
I
gonna
had
give
no
it-
complaints.
I'm gonna give it 9.5, yo, because this is far more enjoyable than any other team movie they had throughout the entire board in the DCEU.
That's very true, actually.
It's too bad we ranked Wonder Woman so high when we first. Like, don't get me wrong, it deserves a lot of the praise that it earns.
Mhm.
But my personal preference, I would rather watch James Gunn's The Suicide Squad over Wonder Woman any day.
I think that's a rewatchability thing.
Ooh, maybe,
Uh,
yeah.
Mm.
Wonder Woman, it's a story and it's a really good story, but it's not
Yeah.
actually like any particular thing to keep rewatching for. It's just got like a ton of great moments and great character stuff. Whereas this Suicide Squad is just fucking funny and it will always be funny. It doesn't stop being funny just because you know the
Yeah.
jokes.
Yeah, tonal differences here are vast. So
Oh, 100%.
you get two completely different movies. I mean, I'd still watch both either way because Wonder Woman's got a harsh significance across the board. So I mean, I can't downplay that. But Squad was a very enjoyable team effort, man. Vibrant, fast, loud, and that's all you really need from an action-paced movie. So I mean, yeah, it does its job, and compared to everything else on that fucking list, it's way better. So I'm gonna give it that 9.5, man.
Beastie, you were at what?
I said 9 myself. I'd be okay with the 9.5 if anything, just to break even.
I'd be okay with the 9.5 just to Justice League.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason why.
Just like say back here.
Yep, that's the reason
You're
why.
too fucking long.
All right, and that catches us up through the 2021 additions to the DCEU.
Although we haven't done the Joker, and we're not. I will never do
We
that.
will.
What-
that's
what-
not.
sorry,
that's
what's
not.
one?
Joker.
That's not tied
No.
into everything, so it doesn't count.
No,
I guess
it's
so.
It's a standalone, so we don't talk about that one.
Yeah, okay, good.
But
Mm.
coming up in our future, we have
Mhm.
the Peacemaker show, which we will do something
Mhm.
with.
Mhm.
We have the Batman.
But you see, now that's not part of DCEU. So do we even do it?
That's true.
If we include that, do we do Joker?
No. Actually,
Mhm.
Mhm.
if we do the Batman and Joker in the same episode, I'll let it go.
However we break that down, we will continue the NC on DC legacy.
As they come out, we'll get to it. Don't worry. And yes, we'll do the Batman. Don't worry. As if we're not going to cover the Batman.
It's if we're not going to do Batman content.
Come
Anyway, Beastie, tell us where they can find us.
Everywhere in the universe, in the galaxy, or even right here on YouTube, where you can subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. And anyways, tune in every Wednesday and catch us streaming live on Mondays and Thursdays at twitch.tv/NerdCrusade. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram for updates, and join our Crusader chat on Discord by checking our link tree in the description down below. And you can download any previous episodes or listen on your mobile device through Anchor.fm or search Nerd Crusade on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, fellow Crusaders.
Will we ever get that Deathstroke movie? I mean, Joe Manganiello will look pretty good in that costume, man. And that's to be continued.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, go ahead and button mash a thumbs up. If you want to swing by when we have a new video, web up the sub button. Oh, and while you're at it, hit the bell to be notified by.